And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. How we doing? Welcome to the best video you're watching right now. Wouldn't you agree? I told you this moment, this is the best video at this very moment that people are watching.
So far, it's pretty good.
Welcome to another, I guess, podcast, whatever you want to call here at the 25-8 Games. I need to come up with a fun name. Like when I do little updates for what we're doing for the odds, I call it Chronologs. I need to come up with a name for this, but TBD on that. We have a special guest here, my friends. The other day, we did our little podcast with Ricardo, and today, we got another amazing artist, the guy that's bringing Ashen Crossroads to life. We have Andrew Parker Murphy. Can I get a round of applause? Let's go. How we doing today, my friend? Welcome to the party. You got a sick shirt on. Let me see that shirt real quick. Holy cow. What is that's got to be the coolest game of all time.
It's shaping up to be.
It's shaping up to be. Well, people, we have a lot of questions you guys have been sending our way, especially for all the artists that we have. And I figured, let's bring in Andrew Parker. I'm going to call you Parker because that's what you normally go by, right? I have this horrible habit when I'm talking about you. I'll just keep saying your full name. I don't know why. It just reminds me sort of like Peter Parker in a way.
So, I get that a lot, actually.
Yeah, you really? No kidding. Perfect. So you're Spider-Man in your free time is what you're saying. I mean, if you can't disclose that, I get it.
If I was, that's both the best and worst curse you can have.
Yeah, right, nowadays. Well, we got a lot of cool updates that he's going to show you. A while ago, I immersed myself into the world of Ashen Crossroads for the first time. He's got a lot of things that have changed and been added since then, so really excited to talk about that. And more specifically, one thing about 25-8 Games that I've told people is that I want this not just to be a way for people to follow the journey of us making Kronoseum, but also kind of getting more behind the scenes of what it's like being an artist like yourself or just being in the video game industry, how games get made, because a lot of people, they just kind of see that end product and they just, I guess, imagine that there's just a make games button and it just happens the next day. So I'm excited to kind of go over all this with you. And how about we do this? You said you have Unreal Engine open. Do you want to just like go show the cool stuff? And then maybe as you're showing us this, you can kind of give us a background, like how you started, like how what's your procedure when you're working on something like this. So I want to get into the mind of Andrew Parker Murphy. I just did it right there again. I want to know more about how you're making cool games at the end of the day. So go ahead, get that set up. You can share your screen and let's rock and roll from there.
Sure, that sounds like a good plan.
All right, let's go ahead. Show. Oh, not me. I'm not that pretty. That's a lot prettier. There we go. All right, and I can already see a few changes since last time. Let's go ahead. I want you to give me. You're my tour guide here for today. Show me in the beautiful worlds of Ashen Cross. I hear the weather's nice this time of year.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, it'd be really bad if you were on, say, that planet over there. But
small details,
Right.
I already see a lot of changes here. Oh my God, we got the skybox in now. Beautiful. Oh, yeah.
So I've been working on about another 2 weeks or so on this since the video that you showed. So there's quite a bit that have gone in. There's vehicles and buildings that are starting to go in. Some of the buildings are just using like a proxy texture at the moment. They're not finished by any, like the whole level is far from done, but it's starting to come together at least. I had Ricardo. Okay, before we go any further, I am going to call Ricardo Ricky, and I'm going to call John Cooper Chainsaw, because those are the names that I've always known them by. So if anyone's like, oh, who the hell is he talking about? Those are the people. So I had Ricky make me a couple statues of lions for this area over here. Just a lot of rubble. I've been working on the slow moving fog a little bit more.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, I can see a big difference there already.
Yeah. It's a little too pricey for performance, but I'm working on that right now. What else? I've renamed the statues based off the names in your last video.
Bob and Kevin and Stuart out there somewhere.
This one is Kevin and Bob is over here. Bob needs a texture, but he's coming along.
It almost seems like that's just technically what, gray box still, right?
Yeah, I'm probably going to just unwrap this and texture it though, because it looks like it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
It's not that poly heavy, so I'm not too worried about it. So I think I'm actually just going to use this guy and texture him.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he didn't have texture until you just mentioned it just now.
Oh yeah, he's gray. He's gray.
He's gray, but no, it's blue. Never mind.
Yeah. If you see these around, these are bothering me. I do need to fix these. They're all around the level. These are going to be like rubble, and trash and stuff like that. But they have to be textured for that.
That fog is really cool.
Around.
Yeah, I'm noticing that fog a lot more now. I mean, it was cool before, and I think that's one thing I want to make clear. It's like the stuff that people saw from a while ago when I first showed them. Like people are always already like, dude, this is already so sick, and it's like there's already been so much more since then. It looks even cooler. Like I see, we have the full staircase. We have some more platforms to jump on that I didn't have before when I was messing around in the map. Like this is already
everything that is textured. You can jump on.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, like a lot of that wasn't done last time I was in there, and that was just a few, not even like, I feel like not even 2 full weeks ago when I was testing all that out. Wow. Yeah,
that bothers me.
There you go. See, now we're seeing how the sausage is made behind scenes. This is what people want to see. Oh, wow. Look at that. I said this the other day. It's like you can judge a game by the quality of the rocks, and the rocks in this game are rocking, man.
They're not too bad.
Yeah.
There's a few that I need to adjust here and there. And I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, especially in the fine tuning.
I got a question for you since we're here. You've done, I mean, as we're going to talk about your background in a moment, you've done a lot of maps and whatnot. How do you like a map that's more chaotic like this? I feel like you don't have to worry about being as neat. You can just kind of throw stuff where you want. Does that make it easier or harder? I'm kind of wondering.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, the thing about these type of maps that are more rubble and more chaotic, for moving around the level, it becomes more difficult.
Okay.
So you kind of have to plan for things. For now, like it's probably a little more chaotic as it is right now than the actual gameplay will be, because we'll have to make more obvious paths so that you're not, especially in VR, because if you start walking and you go over like a rock, it'll make the camera like jump up and down because you're moving over it, and that can be a little disorientating and make you kind of nauseous sometimes. So for now, it's probably a little more chaotic than it will have to be for the actual game, but I'm going to try and keep like the feel of it. So in that regard, it's harder because you have to have planned chaos.
Planned chaos. What an oxymoron that is.
Yeah. So, it's just one of those things that the more you add, the harder it can become. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll have future Parker, future me and everyone else. We'll figure out all those little details. But right now, at least just the world itself, it looks so cool. It's like, especially in VR games, I can't think of many experiences that are existing out there. And especially when you actually step into the world and you're in it, it's truly an awesome. I said this the other day. It's like showing a picture of, I don't know, being in front of the pyramids or being at a Mount Everest. It's not the same as actually being there. It's one of the most immersive maps that I feel like I've ever played in. And where would you say right now, this might be kind of tough, where would you say, like a percentage wise, where this map is, I guess, quote unquote, done? I'm already seeing a few big jumps since last time. I guess, so people can kind of see, all right, we got this much more to go. I don't know. Is that even something to quantify right now?
I mean, it looks further along than I think it actually is. Like I said, there's a few things that are gray still, that these all need to be reworked and remade, or at the very least unwrapped and textured if the model's not bad from the blockout. What I can salvage, I will.
Okay.
Because it A, makes it faster, and B, it'll be the same thing, faster. But yeah, I would probably put it at maybe, from an art perspective, because all the big buildings need to be done too eventually. Those all are going to be quite a bit of work. I'd say it's probably about half done.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, roughly there.
We're halfway there. I mean, if this is halfway, I can't imagine what it's going to be fully made at that point.
There's a lot of tweaks that'll be done once everything's in there as well. Because right now it's just sort of scramble to get everything you can put into the level. And then there'll be more of lighting passes, and there'll be optimization passes, and there'll be post-processing passes where it'll try and make everything look like it feels more in one place, like, because some stuff feels a little disjointed from the others, you know, so there's ways of integrating it so it looks a little more cohesive.
So you know what? So we're talking a lot about Kronoseum. I want to know more about how you ended up in the world of Ashen Crossroads here. Let's talk more about you, and then maybe we can come back here, maybe talk about like some of your procedural things that you do as I guess we call you a 3D generalist artist. I mean, you're kind of wearing a lot of hats out there. So why don't we go ahead and do that? We can come check out more of this later. I love this was so much fun jumping on all those little pillars, going up to the top. Like that was a blast to do. It's a lot of fun places to parkour on this map. But yeah, I could talk about this all day. I want to know more about you. I want the people to know more about you, and I guess being an artist as yourself. So why don't we go a long time ago in a galaxy far away? Let's talk about the moment you were born, and I guess your work up to the video game industry.
we are going far.
Yeah,
all
maybe
right.
not that far.
Well, it all happened on a cold winter day.
Happened on a cold winter night in Ashen Crossroads, you know.
Right. Well, I've always been into art. When I was 5 years old, I was drawing Spider-Man and Voltron and stuff like that
Heck
in kindergarten.
Yeah. You're giving away your Spider-Man identity here still, you know?
I didn't say I was drawing myself, did I?
I guess so. We never saw Parker and Spider-Man in the same room.
That is true. No one has ever seen that. But yeah, so I was always drawing, went all the way up through high school drawing, and used to get in trouble in classes and have my drawing books taken away by teachers. And then I would come back the next day with another one. At the end of the year, I would get all of them back, and they'd hand me like 20 books, which, you know, they were unhappy about, but it was all right. So I've always wanted to draw. It was about high school where I started like really getting into video games. Like I had played video games when I was younger. I had a PlayStation and then 64, and I think the first system I ever played was an Intellivision.
Okay, never played that. No.
It was made by Magnavox, which is an old company that used to make TVs.
Yeah, I actually don't know that one. Maybe if I see that, I'll be like, oh, I know that, but I've never played it.
It was a really weird one. The controller looked like a TV remote, and it had like a circle pad at the bottom that you would rotate, and you put like cards in. You'd slide them into this the top of the controller, and they would have like the controls on it.
Okay.
It was very old. It was, I think, the first 16-bit system. I could be wrong on that. Don't hold me to it. It was around the time of Nintendo, the original Nintendo.
Okay.
So I had that. I had a regular Nintendo that I played probably most for my younger years.
Same here.
Yeah, and then Nintendo 64 came out, which was everyone needed it. It was an amazing system.
You know, when people ask how's your childhood growing up, it's like I had a Nintendo 64. What more do I need? You know?
Yeah, pretty good then.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I some of the best memories of my life are playing Nintendo 64. It's playing Pokemon. Was it Pokemon Stadium? I think it was. And my mom's playing it. She has no idea what's going on. But man, to me, that was the coolest thing. Actually, they ported it over to Switch. I'm like, oh man, this game doesn't look as good as I remember as a kid.
No, it doesn't. I still have my N64 and that game, and I tried it not too long ago. I'm like, man, this is rough.
You know, we had different standards back then, you know?
No, that was as cool as it could be back then, you know?
And the RAM expansion pack, and if you had that for the Star Wars Pod Racer, life is good. You're basically driving a Bugatti at that point, you know?
Yeah, it was. But it wasn't until like high school that I really started to get into like PC gaming a little bit. I hadn't really been into technology at all at that point, and I kind of met, he wasn't a teacher, he was a guy who was in charge of our computer lab. Okay. Like he just maintained the computer lab, and he was a really nice guy, and we started talking about computers and stuff, and I knew nothing about computers. And by the time that I left high school, I had built my first computer, and I was playing video games on computer, and I was starting to learn how to mod video games.
Oh, okay.
And I'll never forget this. The one of the people who was most influential, besides my family, in this career was a teacher in high school who hated me.
There you go.
So
you're
really
antagonist to your life?
Felt like he hated me.
Are we gonna shout him out? To all my haters out there.
Fine. Mr. Daniels. Actually, so Mr. Daniels was my math teacher, which was something I was not into at all, and arguably still am not, even though I use math.
Don't get me started.
I use math way more than I ever did before, and I'm still like, math.
Yeah.
But I was in the computer lab. We were playing a video game, which was also, going back to the modding thing, the first video game I ever modded, which was an old RTS called Red Alert 2.
Oh man, you're speaking my lingo.
Really?
I've played tons of Red Alerts, tons, especially Red Alert 2 and 3. I played a ton. I dabbled in some of the stuff afterwards, but yes, all right. I want to know what did you contribute to the modding community? I need to know now.
I had a bunch of stuff. It was small things. It wasn't any like really big. It would be like changing values, and I started doing some sprite work because I wanted to make infantry.
Okay.
I was really into Gundam Wing at the time.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about your modeling. Spoiler: he's got a modeling YouTube channel he's trying to start up. So if you guys are here, go ahead and subscribe to him. We'll talk more about that. But yeah, so this kind of bridges that.
Yet.
Yeah, not quite ready.
Not quite
Early
ready
stages.
Yeah. But so I was really into Gundam Wing, and I wanted to make a Gundam Wing mod for Red Alert 2.
Okay.
Which, looking back now, has nothing to do with one another, and it really wasn't a great way of doing it. But I started doing sprite work, and I was hand drawing like the 150 frames for an infantry unit for Red Alert 2. And I was doing them in MS Paint. So, not the most efficient way of doing it.
Listen, you use what you had at your disposal, right?
Right. Again, I wasn't really super technical at the time, but I remember I was sitting in the computer lab at lunch, and my friends and I were playing, and we were playing Red Alert 2 because we had installed it on all the computers in the computer lab without anyone knowing. And so instead of eating lunch, we were all in there playing as fast of a game that we could, and the games just chugged on these computers at school, but we did the best we could. And I remember Mr. Daniels, the math teacher, who, again, I don't think he really hated me. I think he just wanted me to focus more.
Yeah.
He had been standing behind me while I was playing this without me knowing. And he goes, he goes, Murphy? And I go, what? He goes, why don't you make video games instead of playing them? And that kind of stuck with me for a while, especially since I was just starting to learn how to mod. So I was like, well, maybe I should look into that, or at least into computer art, since I'm already drawing and such. So I continued on with that. Like I said, I modded Red Alert 2 for a while. I didn't realize how good I had at modding that game, because they had software that would like do most of the work for you, for like changing values of like damage and things like that, and health. It wasn't until the next game that I started modding that I learned how difficult it actually can be.
Which game was that?
So that was actually a game called Star Wars Galaxies, not Galaxy of Heroes.
Okay. No,
Star Wars Galaxies, the old MMO.
I know a lot of guys that go back. They still talk about that game like it was the greatest thing of all time.
It was. They're right.
Yeah.
It was an amazing game. They did some incredible things in that, especially at the very beginning, that no MMO or a lot of games in general have never really recreated. But on that's where I started doing like my first dipping my toes into 3D art a little bit more. I had no idea what I was doing, and I had never worked in 3D at all, but I started working on textures that you could pull from the game, edit them, put them back in the game, and then you could see what you've changed. So that's where I learned, or I first found a thing called normal map, which I'm not sure if you've ever heard of that.
I want you to assume I know nothing, and that's a good assumption to run with.
Well, a normal map is a texture that you put on a 3D model, and it simulates lighting from 3 different directions so that you can have a flat surface, but have this texture make it look like there's something sticking out of it.
I see.
So have you ever played like a game and gone like to an extreme angle on like a brick wall or something like that, and you look and you can see that the actual brick wall is flat, but then you back up and you see like it looks like the bricks stick out a little bit on their own?
Okay.
Or anything like that, or you see something that looks flat from an extreme angle, but then you go to a face on and it looks like perfect, like it's actually 3D modeled on there. That's all done by normal maps. and I had no idea what they were. They look crazy. Sorry, my dog
It's all
is
good.
barking.
My dog's the same way. I swear my dog barks at ghosts all day.
I'll show you what a normal map
See, when
looks
you
like.
said normal map, I'm like, oh, he's talking just like a normal map, you know? So like, that's what I love about this, especially when talking to, you know, technical people. It's like, there are so many things on a technicality level that I've been learning about, and I'm pretty sure I got a lot more to learn. So that's why I always say, when you're talking tech stuff with me, assume I know nothing. And that's probably going to be the story of my life. What's my favorite line from Game of Thrones is, you know nothing. And that's my motto in life.
I can kind of show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. Full screen engaged.
So the image that I'm looking at right now that you can't see, but pretend that you can.
I will use my vast mental capabilities to imagine this.
It's this weird blue, pink, purple image that you look at and you're like, what is that? But when I do this, which you can't see, you'll see that when I send you the photos, it's a white and gray image. And if I change it, it will also show other colors. And basically it's using these different layers or channels in the Photoshop to simulate lighting on the object. So it knows where a shadow would be from if it's being lit from the top. Mm-hmm. It knows where a shadow would be if it's being lit from the side, and it knows where a shadow would be if it's being lit from the front. And by knowing those, you know how it should be lit from any direction, right?
Okay.
It'd be reversed if it's from the other side, and it'd be reversed if it's from the other side, and it'd be reversed if it's from the other side. So it can simulate lighting on this object that's flat and make it look like something is sticking out of a flat surface. So
that's what you were doing modding for that other game, right? For Star Wars Galaxies.
Yeah. So I got my first one of these, and again, when I show you the photo, it doesn't look like anything. You're like, it's blue, pink, and purple. Like, what is this thing? And I didn't know what they were, so I was just adjusting values of blue, purple, and pink, not knowing that it was made up of these three channel colors. Okay. And it was all trial and error. I must have started that program like 10,000 times just to test things out. But yeah, so I learned how to do a little bit of that, and then there was some hex coding that I was learning on the side to make it to like combine objects together and for the models and stuff. Modding was a big part of my like late teens, trying to figure out how all this stuff worked, until I went to school and actually like learned there's a proper way of doing things instead of just, muddling your way through it.
So you're kind of like a musician, just kind of taught himself how to play piano or something in a way, right? With no structure, but you're kind of discovering it and figuring it out to get the groundwork going.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. I think it was a little bit more hectic than that, but yeah, I could see that.
So you took that inspiration from modding, and then you went off to school. And was there a specific degree? Because I'm actually kind of thinking in the context of like my younger brother. He's like really into games. He wants to learn how to make games, and I don't know much about Roblox, but I guess there's ways in Roblox to kind of make your own game. And I was telling him, just, try to learn some Unreal Engine stuff, coming from a guy that barely knew how to like get the VR thing hooked up. So I'm kind of curious, like if someone wanted to go like from that inspiration from high school, like I look at my brother who's a sophomore in high school, at least one of my brothers, my other one's in college. But so, I'm doing what you're doing. I'm doing these moddings. I don't know, messing around with Roblox. Maybe I saw a few tutorials on Unreal Engine. Where do I go from there? Do I just keep going in that trajectory and just kind of doing the whole, mom in the basement learning how to make games? Or is there a formal education that you would look back and be like, this is what I would do again if I went to school? I guess there might be someone in the audience that might want to know. What would you recommend to follow your steps?
Sure. I was a member of a video game development club, basically, back a few years back, right before I actually got into the industry. And there's a lot of different ways to actually come into the industry. Formal education versus teaching yourself. Mm-hmm. I can't really say one is better than the other. There are benefits and problems to both. One of the benefits to learning on your own is that it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
There's so many YouTube tutorials out there. There's so many people who are, on Reddit who will help you figure things out. A lot of, even today, of learning engine stuff, like a lot of time by not just myself, but most developers I know is still done like figuring out on YouTube what to search for to find what you're looking for. That's a very hard part of the job, is knowing what you don't know and how to find it is a big part. But again, YouTube, there's tons of people out there who are teaching you how to model, how to code, how to use Unreal Engine. So that's a great way of doing it. One of the cons to that, that's one of the benefits to getting a formal education, is meeting people who are in the same boat as you are, and teachers who have worked in the industry, and making your connections. Because for how big this industry is, it's shocking how tight the community of developers is. For instance, for Kronoseum, Ricky was brought on.
Yes, I want to bring that up.
He's like, would you like to work with me on? And I said yes before I'd even heard what it was.
It could have been a Barbie hero collector or something like that.
That's okay. I get to work with Ricky again. I don't care. It's fine. And
we got to talk about how you met Ricky. Yeah.
Yeah. We brought Chainsaw in the same way. You're like, well, do you know anybody? I'm like, I got a guy, you know, and that's helpful for somebody starting off. Knowing people, making connections is really important, and being good is very important. So
I guess that helps a little bit, right?
Yeah,
you can't
I
be
know.
complete trash.
I would say that connections are more important than being good, though.
I think I can echo that as well, for sure. I mean, even I think it helps out a ton in the video game industry, but even beyond that, whatever field you're in, like I went to law school and made a lot of connections with attorneys, because it's kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, this attorney knows that attorney. It's kind of a small knit community. So if I guess there's general advice, even if you're not pursuing video games, I know having to talk to people is horrible sometimes, but it's sometimes those connections mean a lot. You never know when you're gonna know someone that needs help, or vice versa. Right. So so I could totally sympathize with that. Helps out with the school part. That's, I guess, part of the tuition or whatever. It's you're kind of getting a built-in networking as well, besides just the more formal structure of learning how to make games. My
first paid job, I was brought on by one of my professors. He
messaged
me and said, "Are you looking for a job? I just became an art director of a studio, and I'm looking to make a team." So
and the ball starts rolling.
Yeah, and it's been rolling ever since, for the most part. So, it really is important to make connections and meet other people who are doing the same thing and collaborate. And I know that there are clubs out there that you can join, like our IGDA, Indie Game Development Association, and they're in most cities at this point, and they just do like weekly or every 2 weeks they'll have a meetup and just talk about games and making games and stuff like that. There's plenty of groups out there. I'm sure there's a lot of Discord channels and stuff like that as well. So, sorry, my dog.
We share a lot of pictures of our dogs in our group chat.
But yeah, so that's the difference. The one thing I would say to artists that they don't normally know is to learn an engine. Whether it be Unreal or Unity or even Game Maker or something like that, learn an engine on the side as well, because you're going to be spending a lot of time in that, and it's not something that an art degree is going to teach you. So, it's important to be able to take what you have and at least put it somewhere where somebody can do something with it.
And I'm guessing, do you have a preference for either or Unity, Unreal?
Unreal, I suppose. I've used Unity for one, arguably two projects, and it was a long time ago. So I know it's changed a lot since then. They're both free right now. Unreal is a little bit more user-friendly, in my opinion, if you don't know how to code, because they have this thing called Blueprint, where you basically put a bunch of nodes together and it does stuff. It's pretty cool. It's basically black magic. But Unity's not too far behind, so either one will work. Game Maker is a lot easier, but it's more for 2D games, but that's a good place to start.
Yeah, that's what I hear from a lot of people if you're doing your first game. Or the first game I heard, people said you should learn how to make tic-tac-toe or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they'll give you the fundamentals and get you... You'll do a lot of the stuff that you'll end up doing later on by making that. It's kind of like the hello world for programming.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I didn't think of it like that. So you went to college,
Right.
and what was your degree in college that you got? Maybe you said it already.
No, I started going for graphic design.
Okay.
I hadn't decided on becoming a video game developer quite yet. Like, I'd been dabbling with it, and I didn't know how to do anything in there, so I was going to school for graphic design and quickly learned that I didn't like that.
Yeah, and then Mr. Daniels came up behind you right again. He's like, why aren't you making video games?
On the shoulder. Yeah. So I went to community college first at a school called Scottsdale Community College. Go Fighting Artichokes.
Shout out.
Yeah, we were the Fighting Artichokes.
Fighting Artichokes. That's a unique name.
Yeah. Finished up there, went to Arizona State, and when I was at Arizona State, my degree for my undergrad was art, just art studies, basic art degree. And then this was a time where video game development was just starting to creep into curriculums at universities. So they didn't have a program for game development per se. They had a certificate program, which was basically like a mini minor. I think there were 9 classes total that you could take for all aspects of video game design. So I took as many of those as I could, learned that I was not a programmer pretty quickly.
I took one computer science class as a gen ed. Worst mistake of my life. Gen ed is supposed to be easy. It's easy A's. I'm like, all right, this is more than I could handle.
Yeah, I think the only class in college that I actually failed directly was a C++ class. And I will still say to this day, I learned more in that class than any other class I've ever taken. Yeah. And I failed.
Not as easy as taking Anthropology 101 or something like that,
No, it was the final test. You didn't get a computer to work on. You had to hand write your code from memory. And I'm like, I did all the multiple choice questions, and I got to the last like 3 questions that were all just blank sheets. And it's like, make a program that does this, and you had no notes or anything. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with the test. I did all the multiple choice. I'm done. That's all I got.
That's how I failed only one class. I have a good excuse because my wife and I met then, and we spent more time hanging out with each other than actually going to calculus. And we missed all the calculus class. We get to the finals, and I'm like, I'm reading some foreign language. I have no idea what's going on. So I bombed it. But the good news is I retook the class and I got 103%. So I had a comeback story. But yeah.
103.
Yeah, I got the extra credit. I got the extra credit in the final exam. So yeah. So the thing that's
you're like, I'm not failing again. I'm doing the extra credit.
You don't think that sucked too? When I went to law school, they don't look at that grade. They take the average between the F and the A plus. And like, all right, that was a C. And then when you try to apply to law schools, they care about flexing the cumulative GPA of all the incoming students. So that was a pain. So I had to make up with the LSAT, as they call it when you apply to law school. But anyways, I know that feeling when you're just like, I guess I'm done. This is it. I guess I'm dead.
So, I could sit here all day and look at this question, but it's not going to help me.
Maybe got to like flip it over and get a different perspective.
Right. So I took all the video game classes. I finished my art degree. I took all the 3D art classes that they had as well. And then I realized that I probably still wasn't going to be able to get into the industry because I wasn't quite good enough yet. So I ended up getting my master's, but I went to Chicago, went to DePaul University, which everywhere I looked said it was one of the best schools for game development, but I didn't realize that game design and game development were different things. So it's very good for game design, and it was more than adequate for art, but it wasn't the best school in the country for that. But it worked out for me because, like I said, I met a professor there, and he ended up giving me my first job once I had graduated. I sort of latched onto him. He was a 3D artist professor. He made me a tutor for the school as well, which was weird.
Okay.
Yeah, that was an experience.
You were a powerful apprentice, young Parker.
Well, it was weird because it was like they told me I was the 3D tutor, and I think I only had like one student who ever asked me anything for 3D.
Okay.
Everything else was like After Effects, which I had never touched. So I'd get like a assignment that the student needed help with, and I'd like be at the bar. and I get this email about it. I'm like, I gotta go, guys. And I'd go home and I'd like YouTube it and learn how to do what the project was, and then go the next day and teach the student.
I learned so much on YouTube from calculus. Funny enough, when I retook it, it's like, if I didn't understand something, it's crazy how powerful YouTube is. I mean, I guess nowadays, there's what's it called, the chat GPTs and whatnot. My brother, he'll just take a picture of his like math problem and it'll just automatically solve it. I'm like, come on, man. Back then we had Control F. That was the most advanced technology for learning and YouTube.
I completely understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he messaged me shortly after I graduated. Like I said, he had become an art director at a studio in Chicago called Phosphor Studios, which is actually kind of the second studio I ever worked for, because I interned at another one. And he brought me on as a junior artist and put a lot of responsibility on me for a junior artist.
That's the best way to learn.
Honestly, yeah. I at the time it felt pretty brutal. I was the only environment artist on the first project I worked on.
Okay. As
a junior artist, I made like 10 or 11 levels and vehicles and weapons and stuff by myself in Unity, which I had never used before. So I had to learn the engine on the job as well. It was a little brutal, but looking back on it now, I'm like, yeah, that helps, because I had to learn about lighting and performance and, how to set up for animation properly. And I think I got to do a little bit of mocap in that as well.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. But yeah, that's how I got my first job. So like I said, having connections is super important.
So what was that first game that you ended up working on?
Well, the first game, like I said, that I worked on was my internship.
Okay.
I was in Arizona and I hadn't gotten a job yet, and I had reached out to one of like the 3 companies in Arizona at the time called Team Colorblind, and they made a game called Aztez, which is a side beat 'em up game that takes place in the Aztec Empire. It's a super stylized game. The majority of the game is black, white, and gray, and then because it's a beat 'em up, it has extremely red blood. And it was a great game to work on. I did, I think, like 20 of the 30 characters, which were mostly just armor changes, but that was awesome because that game was shown at E3 while I was in college. And I was sitting in like the library or the common room or something, and people were watching E3, and I had no idea it was being shown.
Oh, wow.
So I'm sitting there watching it with them, and I'd been working on this thing in my free time on campus, so like a lot of the students knew that I was working on this game, and suddenly like my character is on screen for like a second, and I'm like, what, did I just see that? What was that? And then like 20 seconds later, they start going, because it was like a montage of all these indie games. And like 20 seconds later, they started listing the names of the games, and the very first one listed was Aztez. And I'm like, that was my stuff.
Wow.
My stuff's at E3. I'm a student at school, and I'm looking at my stuff, and everybody's sort of like, is that...
Do we have a celebrity in the room?
Thing?
We got a celebrity in here.
It was insane. I mean, I know people who worked in the industry for like 20 years and never had their stuff shown at E3.
Wow.
I mean, that was insane. I lost my mind.
Yeah, that's got to be a huge moment. Yeah, a lot of people just the dream for the opportunity, and you had it.
Oh yeah. Check that one off the list.
There you go.
But yeah, no, it was cool. It was really neat. And again, not knowing about it either, like, that my boss at the time never mentioned it, and I'm just like, why didn't you say anything?
It makes it more exciting, right?
Yeah, it was one of the most exciting moments in my career, period. I mean, and again, hadn't really even started my career yet.
Wow. So you started off on a pretty strong foot, I guess.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then the first paid game I ever worked on.
You get paid in the industry? What?
Sometimes. No, as far as pay goes, it's actually not a terrible career. It depends on what you're doing. Like, unfortunately, game testers don't get paid extremely well, even though they have one of the hardest, most thankless jobs out there.
Yeah. It's something to put on the resume, right? Again, try to get that ball rolling.
It's again, connections. So it's a way to get your foot in the door. But a lot of like the bigger companies, they don't even want to look at like anyone who's already there. They want to just bring in somebody else because
Yeah.
if you're already doing the job well, you kind of get into that habit, and they like you there. It's hard to move up from there. Smaller companies, not as bad. A lot of my companies I've worked at are smaller. A couple people did move up, but that job is brutal because you sit there playing the same like 10 minutes of a video game for like a year, trying to break it in new and interesting ways, and then you do that for like a third of your day, and then the other 2/3 of your day is like making like Excel spreadsheets about what you did and how it's broken, and Jira tickets so that people sending them off to the people who are supposed to fix bugs and stuff, and like, you know, it's like, how many creative ways can I break this, you know, the same 10 minutes a game.
Sounds like psychological torture.
It's not easy, and again, they don't get paid super well. They, like, some companies pay them decently, but they're usually kind of like the lower end of the production pay scale. But those people they're a different breed. They work hard, and they, you know, it's hard to break a game in every way you can think of, and then more, and then just Excel sheet after Excel sheet, man. Like, it's brutal. Like, oh god, I'm like, I don't want to do that.
So it just gets better from there, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So, you know, testers, they're you know, don't knock them. They're doing their best. Trying to discover new ways of breaking a game. It's you know, and then you think you found it, and you give it to a couple 100,000 players, and they're like, "Oh man, you guys didn't test your game. I found this so easily, right?" Yeah. And it's like, well, you didn't find it easily. Usually, like usually it's some like obscure thing that you did, or, you know, something has to be happening on the other side of the map at the exact moment you did it, you know, and it's like, how do you find
a certain
that?
Day of the year or something? You know?
Yeah. It's certain, you know, you have to have a certain setting made, and you know, it's got to be medium settings with you know, AO completely as high as it can, no global illumination. You can't have that, you know, and you're like, what? How did you find that?
Hey, at least they did it for free, I guess, right? So it's free game testing.
Well, the problem is they don't tell you how they did. They just show you the results. So you're like, I have no idea what to do to reproduce that, you know?
And that's when the bug becomes a feature.
Yeah, if you ever put in like a bug report or a feedback or something to any game developer, be as thorough as you can when you write it. Don't just be like, I did this and it broke. It doesn't help. Be like, it was Tuesday at this time, you know, I was in the dark, you know, some weird shit.
Oh man! Oh gosh! All right, so I'm losing track. We're talking about so much awesome stuff here.
I'm all over the place.
I love that. Oh my gosh! So you went Aztez. You went then Phosphor was afterwards, right?
Yes,
okay.
Phosphor was afterwards. The first game I worked there was Jurassic World Verse. It was a mobile VR game that went into like this little plastic headset. I have a copy of it here somewhere.
Okay.
I have a shelf on one of my things over there with things from every game I've ever worked on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so besides this shirt, we're going to have to come up with like a 3D printed barricade or something.
I was literally thinking that we should take the shield and like maybe somehow get that 3D printed, or maybe the blaster he has. I think that'd be so cool to print out. Yeah, I know nothing about 3D printing. I want to get one done.
I can see what I can
That
do about that.
would be sick.
I can make you like a Warhammer 40K barricade or something
Heck
like that.
yeah, let's do it. Yeah, we need could be like a fun I don't know. I know we're talking about maybe Kickstarter down the road, but could be something fun to look into as one of the tiers, like you can get something printed from the game or whatever. But
that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So anyways,
I do a little 3D printing on the side, so
really?
we can
Okay.
talk about that.
Okay, all right. You got also your Spider-Man, you know. So we're listing all the stuff you do in your free time.
It seems like not a lot until I start talking about it. And then I'm like, man,
we were talking about cars. I didn't realize you were so into cars before we started. I'm like, dude, we should just start recording. You know. Then you have the modeling thing you want to do for the YouTube channel. So you know, you somehow you find free time, and after doing all the video game stuff, and you find all these cool hobbies you're into.
Yeah, somehow.
So Jurassic World VR, right?
Yeah, VRSE verse, I think is how they pronounced it. And we had a sister project, which was a Batman verse. They were two games that were going on at the same time. So the art team at that point was my art director, one character artist, and two environment artists, and that was the entire art team, which is pretty small. usually art teams are the largest team in a game development, which we are doing right for that, by the way.
Yeah.
we do. We're 2 artists to 1 to 1.
Exactly. So it is the biggest department here.
Yes, it is. So we're doing it right so far.
It's just a different scale, right? You know, that's all.
Right. But at this company, we had like 5 programmers, so we were outnumbered for programmers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What ended up happening was we had myself work on the Jurassic World game, the other environment artist work on the Batman game, and the character artist would split his time between doing both. And this is the very like first game that I've ever like worked on really. Like for Aztez, I was just making characters and sending them off, and then my boss would like put it in the engine and make it work and do all the stuff. So I was just doing art for that one. This one, I'm actually like putting the stuff in. I'm making the environments. I'm doing the lighting. I'm doing, you know, I have to worry about performance. At this point, the strongest 2 phones that we were working on, because this was again mobile, were the iPhone 6 and the first Google Pixel.
I was expecting we were going to be a little bit further along.
Those were our strongest. Those were brand new at the time. Yeah. So like, I think I had an iPhone 5 and I was using that for most of the stuff. I think we went down to a 4. I think 4 was the lowest that we went.
Oh my.
Yeah. So, you know, these are like TI-83 calculators.
Yeah, right.
Like just one step above that at the time.
I was thinking you were going to say like iPhone 11 or something like that. iPhone 4 and 6. Wow. Okay.
Yes. Again, 6 was brand new when we launched. So, you know, I look back on it and I actually ended up taking off my portfolio because I'm like, it looks terrible, even though for the time, it was as good as it could get. But yeah, like, you know, so I'm learning a new engine. I'm learning all these other things. I'm learning like materials and how materials work, which was surprisingly difficult because it's math, but it's not math. Like it's one of those node-based things, although I think at the time for Unity, it wasn't node-based yet. Yeah, it wasn't, because this was pre-PBR. Physical-based rendering, for people who don't know. That makes textures look more realistic by using metallic and a roughness texture.
See, I knew that. That was one thing I actually knew.
All right,
so cool. I got 1 out of probably 50 things you said today.
This is still back in like the old specular days before we had PBR. So you're making like specular maps, which are just like the color of shine, kind of. It's a little more complicated than that, but not much. So I'm learning how to put these things in an engine I've never used. I'm learning about VR, which I had never touched before that. And I'm in charge of all of the art other than the characters in the game.
Wow, okay.
And UI. UI I wasn't in charge of either. Yeah, so it was like this crazy experience and like learning on the fly, and I'm working with a really talented team at the time, and like everybody knows their stuff, and I'm sitting here like trying to figure it out and trying to piece together what they're talking about.
Fake it till you make it, baby.
Yeah, well, it wasn't faking it exactly. I mean, kind of, but I was trying to learn as fast as I could. And it was a real big learning experience on that project, especially for like my first one. And then like the Batman sister game, like we would help each other out here and there with a couple assets. Like he was doing a level in a museum, so I'm like, here's a dinosaur skeleton that I made for your museum, and you know, he would help me by sending me something if I needed it that he had, you know. But for the most part, those games didn't overlap a lot, so I don't like really credit myself on that game, even though I think I'm credited in it. But the Jurassic World game was like my first baby, you know.
You said that was like that was a VR game too, right? Or like super. Yeah. That was like super. That was before like VR started trying to grow its legs with, you know, that like in the mid 2015s or whatever it was. It was just starting to like become a thing. Like we had Oculus headsets, which were brand new. I think we had a Vive, like the first Vive as well. I mean, I still have my headset. They gave it to me when I left. Yeah. And it says right on it that it's an engineering sample. Okay. I'm looking at it right here. So it's like not even the original Oculus. It's like a there you
engineering sample version. So it's like really, really old. But it still works, and it works fine. So I've used that for a lot of development. But yeah, so first game being VR was real tricky because VR has a lot of limitations that other game development doesn't, and then be mobile on top of that. You know, it was very challenging, and I learned a lot, which was great. I felt like I was maybe put a lot on my shoulders for being brand new, but you know, trial by fire, it ended up working out pretty good.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right. And it did, you know, that's the thing. Like I got to the point where I was like, I can do all this stuff now. And that's how I became a generalist, where there's almost no aspect of the art pipeline that I can't do at this point.
And it's funny because this is actually gonna. I mean, we're working our way to Kronoseum, but you know, you were kind of there in those. Yeah, no, but you were talking about the early stage of VR, and I think, you know, especially when I announced that this game's gonna be made on VR for a variety of reasons I've explained. I don't think people realize how far VR has come. Maybe they're thinking like back in those days on iPhone 6 or whatever. It's like, oh, what is this kind of gimmicky? No, and people, when they saw, you know, the map that I hopped into, Ashen Crossroads, like, wow, this actually looks a lot better than I imagined a VR game would look like, you know. So, and it's not even fully done yet.
The stuff that I've worked on, it wasn't too long ago that I did my last VR game before this one.
That was World of Mechs, right?
Yeah, that was, I think, 3 years ago or so, but that was still before like the Quest 3, so we were still doing Quest 2, which Quest 2 was a huge leap forward from what I had been working on prior to that, because this is my 4th VR game now, and every time I do it, there's usually a bit of a break in between them, and it like the technology jumps significantly. I haven't even touched anything that's recent yet. Like, I haven't done a Quest 3 or any of the other, like, they have that one where they like 3D print your face. Like,
okay, I don't know about that one. That sounds crazy. Oh, you talking about the Apple Vision one, the Apple headset?
It's not the Apple one.
Okay,
it's another one. It's another company. I don't remember what the name is off the top of my head. I think that all they do is this. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me. But I think all they do is this, and they have like this super slim, like almost like binocular kind of headset, and you like have to scan your face, and then they 3D print out like this silicone gasket kind of thing that goes over your face, and it like molds perfectly to your face. And I'm like, that's insane. Yeah. And it's to keep like light from bleeding in from around your
like in the Oculus headset, you can kind of get light underneath like where the nose is and whatnot. But yeah, the Oculus Quest 2, that was I think that was the most selling VR headset. I think I can't remember the time period, but it was said that it outsold the Xbox Series S and X, so that was like a huge moment of adoption for VR. So, and then Oculus 3 or Quest 3, definitely a lot of improvements, but I still think Quest 2 is kind of like the one, like if
that's the sweet spot right now. That's the
sweet spot right now. Yeah, and there are some games that are exclusive to Quest 3. I'm not sure if you saw the Batman VR game. It's a continuation of the Arkham Asylum series. It was one of the cool, and it came out just this year, I think, or maybe Christmas last year, whatever it was. It was so cool because Batman Arkham Asylum, like that was like my first platinum trophy I got on my PlayStation 3. Had so much fun, and it literally brought me back to that moment, like, you know, throwing the batarangs, using his grappling hook and stuff like that. But yeah, it's supposed to be a continuation of it, and beating up on all the the prison inmates and stuff like that. It was such a wild game myself. But so there are some games that are exclusive to Quest 3, but yeah, the Quest 2 for a lot of people is kind of that sweet spot. And most games that I think are amazing are still played on that. Yeah,
the Quest 2, well, it also had a really good price range for it when it came out. Like, it was affordable. There were quite a few games that were on it at launch, and it became more and more as time went on. And like what you got for your money was a great deal. The Quest 3 is a little pricey in my mind.
They have the 3S, which is supposed to be the same processing power, but without the clarity improvement on the lens. But I still think it's a little bit more than what the Quest 2 was. But the Quest 3 definitely was a bigger jump from the Quest 2.
Yeah, especially at launch. It might be better now. I haven't looked at it in a while, but the Quest 3 was a little pricey when it launched, but the Quest 2, like, I really like it. It's a really nice headset. I mean, I have one sitting literally right
there. You go.
Here. Yeah. Not charged at the moment, but I'm going to have to soon. Yeah. I'm going to have to start testing in the scene. It's going to be soon. We're not terribly far.
No, yeah, it's I mean, when you put it on, you actually like put yourself into the map. It's a crazy feeling, like don't get me wrong. I mean, most of my life I played, mobile console PC games. and you see all these pretty worlds on your monitor, but it's just like it's a whole different feeling when it's like you're inside of it. So and that's I think the magic of VR is it's there's still a lot that they're improving on over the years. Like even just 10 years ago, the HTC Vive was like my first official headset. And I had to set up all the camera sensors, I had the long cables and all that. So so much has changed just from a convenience standpoint, and the performance, standalone without needing a PC. It's a lot has changed since then. So yeah, long story short, people seeing the work that you've done in the map alone, and getting the Shield and Blaster, people are like, whoa, I didn't realize VR games actually look this good. So it's been, I guess, this game, besides just showing how we're making the game and a little bit about the video game industry, it's kind of also a vehicle to kind of show what the VR worlds look like. It's exposing a lot of people who haven't maybe seen anything since maybe like Beat Saber or something like that.
Yeah, I remember a few years ago when we were working on World of Mechs, it was like Christmas time and I had family over, and I had he must have been like 75-year-old father and 74-year-old mother put on the headset and actually like look around like the hangar bay that you start off in. And my mom, I'll never forget my mom. She was sitting there looking, and she's like, I don't really see much. And I'm like, turn around. She turns around. She goes, oh, because this giant mech is like right behind her. And they were pretty impressed by what they saw.
I got so many amazing clips of my family trying on VR headsets. Even my babcia, my grandma in Poland, she's like in her 80s, and even herself, she was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." So yeah, it's I got tons of blackmail footage of my family wearing VR headsets and just wandering around aimlessly.
First time you put on a VR headset and see something that's kind of cool looking, like it's very memorable. Like it's an experience the very first time. Yeah. Because you're just like, this is, it's not like the VR headset when I was a kid and it was like triangles coming at you. Yeah. And it's all like red. Yeah. It's like Virtual Boy kind of stuff.
Virtual Boy. Yeah.
or the big arcade one where you put like this headset on.
Oh,
and it was like, remember those?
Then you get pink eye afterwards,
It's a very, very different game now, and it's pretty neat actually. I'm happy that I've worked on so many VR games, and like I said, it's a challenge to make a VR game compared to a normal one based off of the limitations.
The limitations and also the comfort factor of it all, and and that's why I was so excited that when I met Ricardo, he knew someone that understood the art aspect, but also the performance aspect too. And it's fun when I talked to Ricardo. I guess we could talk about how you guys met here in a moment. We had him here for the podcast with him, and he was like, "Oh, we got more tech side questions." That's a Parker thing. He knows more about the optimization and the comfort than I do. So that's I guess maybe that's kind of why he really wanted to have you on board with the art direction for this.
Like I said, this will be my fourth game, I think, maybe fifth. There might have been another one in there. And again, most of the projects I've worked on, I was in charge of a lot of it. Well, a lot of my time at Phosphor in general, I was either the only environment artist or like one of like two. And we didn't have anybody else. We didn't have a tech artist. We didn't have a lighting artist. We didn't have anything else. So I would be in charge of figuring out how to do everything. So like I'm learning how to make materials do stuff, like how do I make this thing blink, and and performance became like the biggest problem that I had, because I had never really worried about performance. School didn't really teach you about performance limitations. Like they would tell you, don't use a lot of textures and don't make it like an excessive amount of polygons. And it's like, cool, but like there's so much more than that, like how many individual sets of textures are on it versus how big is your texture is important, and what does your material that all the textures plug into to show themselves on the model, what do those do? Are they just plugged in normally, or do they blink, or do they move, or do they need to glow in a certain way? Or it boils down to all being math, which again has never been my specialty.
It always creeps up on you. You think you get away from math, and it's just somehow there.
Well, video game math is different than normal math, because like there's situations where you're like multiplying colors.
Okay, you lost me there.
Well, I mean,
red times yellow.
kind of. I mean, like you work in Photoshop, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
I wouldn't call myself Photoshop guru. I can do enough to put the arrow on the thumbnail, like.
But like in computers, the colors are just made up of three numbers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, your red, green, and blues.
Blue, yeah.
So you take those, and those are just numbers. So
okay.
a color is just a set of 3 numbers. So like maybe
when you
I need to make.
so when you pull up the palette, you kind of when you pick a color, it gives you kind of like the number for it, right?
Right. So I can take like this thing and be like, it needs to be greener. Like it's not green enough. So I'll take the green channel and multiply that times 1.2 and then put that back into the texture. And now I've multiplied a color times a number and now it's greener, you know, and stuff like that. And you're like, what am I doing?
I was just gonna say, I don't think I've ever heard about color math. You multiply colors.
Yeah.
I think today's the first time I've heard about that.
Oh yeah, and in Unreal you can get super colors too, where a color goes higher than 1. So like normally a color is 0 to 1,
yeah.
right? So if you go to 2, you've made a super color, and usually that glows.
Wow. Okay.
So like. And then you're like, okay, well maybe I went too far, so now I gotta bring it back down. And then like there's all these different nodes and stuff that'll like you can clamp it where you can put it between 2 numbers, you know, like whatever the outcome is. It's crazy how much math is in this, but it's not like it's math, but it's not like normal math.
Yeah. Multiplying colors. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is in the end. It's a funny way of thinking about it.
So there's girl math and now there's dev math.
Yeah, color math.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. What were we even talking? I completely forgot what we were on about there.
We're talking about Ricky.
Yeah. So Ricky, he said if you have tech questions, you're the guy to ask about art and tech because you're
right.
So I guess maybe I don't know if we really mentioned this. We call you the 3D generalist. That means I guess it means general stuff, right? So you're doing environment stuff. You're gonna be doing some VFX stuff, but you're also kind of a tech artist too on top of that, which. For a lot of places out there, it's kind of like a separate. So you're kind of dipping your toes in a few different things here.
I'm less of a tech artist than I'd like to be. A dedicated tech artist is miles ahead of what I can do, but I can do more than just the basics. So, like I said, I can usually find a way of making it work by Googling and YouTubing to see if I can find something that will at least put me on the right track for what I'm trying to do. Like, for instance, that fog in the level. I had a hard time because I couldn't remember how to do something that I did years and years ago for that, where before it would collide with like an object and there'd be like this hard line of where the fog and the object collide, right? It would just like you could just see the green like line where it's on it. And then I had to remember how to basically feather that wherever it touched an object, which was using a thing called, it's like a depth mask or something like that. And it's basically where 2 objects collide. You can use that information of where the computer determines where it's colliding, and you can basically like feather it off a little bit. So whenever it touches an object in the level, it doesn't just give you that hard line. It kind of like tapers off as it touches it.
Okay.
So stuff like that is not what normal like environment artists typically think about. I mean, some maybe, but usually that's more of a tech art thing. But yeah, like so tech artist, not as much as I'd like to be. I'd like to dive more into that at some point, but again, I can do probably what we're gonna need. So it should be okay. Don't worry.
Yeah. So if the game doesn't work, we'll just blame you, right?
Well, yeah. Environment artists usually get blamed for that, to be fair. And usually rightfully so.
Oh man! So what games did you do on Phosphor? So there was World of Mechs, right? And I'm guessing there was other stuff too, right?
World of Mechs was at 369.
Oh, 369.
Actually.
That's right. Yes. And you met Ricky was that Phosphor or 369?
Phosphor.
Okay.
Yeah. So Ricky had worked in the industry around Chicago for years before I had met him. I think he'd worked at Phosphor prior to coming back to Phosphor, but I'm not 100% sure about that. He got brought on for a Walking Dead game that unfortunately got canceled fairly early into development. We had a second game going at the time, which was Predator VR, which is a game that I worked on. I was the sole environment artist for the majority of that project, although they ended up hiring somebody to help me out towards the end. So even when he was working there, I didn't really know him that much. We were sitting like next to each other, but I didn't interact with him really at all. But when Walking Dead got canceled, a lot of people got laid off. He did not. And we started working closer together on things at that point. and he's just a super talented character artist. I mean, he can make whatever your concept art look exactly like your concept art. He's insane.
Yeah, he's been awesome to work with.
He's incredible. I've had the privilege of working with some of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. I've never felt that anyone I've ever worked with in this industry has not been pulling their weight. They wear a lot of hats in their sections of what they're doing, and Ricky is no exception to that. He's an incredible artist. I learned something every time I talked to him. He was trying to convince me to change some software that I was using to a different software for years, and I kept ignoring him. And now I use that software daily, and I haven't had the heart to tell him that he's right.
So let's hope he's not watching this, right?
Yeah. Don't, any good words I say about my coworkers, don't tell them, please.
No, don't tell them. No, yeah. We only say the bad stuff.
Right. Tell them that they suck, and I said so. But in all reality, the people I've worked with, I've been extremely lucky to be able to work with everyone at Phosphor and People Can Fly and 369 and Team Colorblind and Farbridge and out here. Everyone I've worked with has been outstanding. Like, they're just. I learn things from them every day, and it's really funny when you're like in a meeting with people and you're like, we should try doing this like one thing that would be really interesting at the beginning of the meeting. And by the end of the meeting, the guy who was in charge of doing that's like, well, do you guys want to look at that? And we're like, what are you talking about? We've been spent 20 minutes since we said that. What are you talking about? He's like, no, I've already made it. Let's take a look at it real quick and see if it's good. And you're like, how did you do that?
So those are the guys you like to work with, It's I hear some stories. I'm glad you had a very positive experience. I've heard some stories, like where someone will say, "Hey, I need this done by the end of the day," and they're like, "Oh, I can't do it for 3 weeks." So it's awesome. You've been working with so many people over because you said you've been working at mostly kind of like small studios over the past. How long have you been in the industry? I forgot. Is it 10, 15 years? I've lost track.
Somewhere between 10 and 12.
Okay.
So somewhere in there, I'm not exactly sure. Again, it's kind of murky because I had the internship. And do you consider learning in school? If it's that, it's like 20 years. But yeah, so it's been a while. But most of the companies I've worked at are smaller. I think the largest one at the largest point was probably either Phosphor or 369. They were both around, I think, like 60 people is the max that I ever worked with. Most projects I've worked on have been about 15 to 20 people.
Okay, and so out of all those places you've worked at, what's been, obviously Kronoseum was the best game of all time, but what was your favorite game to work on? Ricky said the same thing. Yeah, Kronoseum, best game, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, it has the potential right now, I would say, to be the best game that I've worked on.
Wow,
and that's not pandering. That's legitimate. I actually think that
I guess we could talk more about that in a little bit. Yeah, again, about Kronoseum stuff, but we can talk about that later. So I didn't mean to cut you off there. So what would you say is your favorite game then?
I think World of Mechs was my favorite game to work on. Okay. I think it was. That game, again, this is jumping ahead a little bit because it's 369. That was because we were talking about, I think we were just about to start talking about Predator VR.
Yes, that's how these things go. We're just going to bounce everywhere.
Predator VR, I think, is like 3 or 4 games before World of Mechs.
Okay.
But World of Mechs was probably my favorite because I had a lot of artistic freedom on that project. Almost all of the mechs in that game were my design.
Oh, cool.
I made them from scratch. There were 2 mechs that we let a junior artist who was really excited about the game. We let him design 2 of them, and then I sort of mentored him while he was designing them. I had my hand on just about everything, but technically those were his mechs. Shout out to Nico if he ever sees this video. He did an outstanding job, but I made most of them. I did a lot of the textures on them. I did 4 of the 6 levels in that game.
You even did some really creative, you talked about it a while ago, some creative ways for comfort, because that's, again, one thing about VR is comfort. You said, because peripherals, I guess, is kind of one way that people can feel uncomfortable, and you did a creative thing where you kind of built out the interior more, right? To kind of closing the peripheral more, right?
Yeah, so that game, if no one's seen it, it's a cockpit-driven arena mech game. Kind of like a Mech Warrior, but you're on a team of, if I remember, it was 5v5. And there's all kinds of different game modes, like Capture the Flag and Deathmatch and everything. And so you're inside the cockpit. There are 3 different sizes of mechs. So we had 3 different interiors that you could be in. So you have all your controls, you have your arms sticking out, like you see your arms and you see your legs, even though your legs don't move, but your arms do, because they're based off the controller. And there's all these windows around you. And what we did was, that was like a normal like movement. It wasn't like a jump movement kind of thing. It was, as you press forward, the mech moves forward. Some people would get motion sick from that. So the way to combat motion sickness is to limit how much of your peripheral you see. So some games, like in like Predator VR, if you moved, like you get like this vignetting, this black like area around like the middle of the screen until you stop moving. The way that we did that in World of Mechs VR was there was an option, and it was literally in your settings. It was called motion sickness mode, and all the peripheral windows would just get like this metal sheet that would go over them like armor. And that was the way that we would like give you that vignette, that smaller area, without like taking you out of the game.
Yeah.
It was a really clever way of doing it, in my opinion. Because you still in the mech, you still see the whole interior, but the side windows are all covered in like metal armor.
Yeah, it's a creative way of doing it. Yeah, instead of just doing a simple vignette, and it's actually funny because it's funny how like I feel like all the people that are working on this, they kind of had a similar experiences coming in, because Dan Adams, the person doing our tech design work, he worked on Starblood Arena, which is a PSVR exclusive. This is like 10 years ago when PSVR was just kind of starting up. And that was, instead of a mech, it was a ship, and it was a ship battler. So you had your team deathmatch and stuff like that. So it's kind of funny that you both had like kind of similar VR experience with mechs, but just I guess a slightly different vehicle.
Yeah, I never had the privilege of working with Dan before this, but I can tell you right now, he's shaping up to be really one of the better tech designers that I've ever worked with.
Shout out to Dan. I don't know if he's going to be listening to this today, but you're giving away too many compliments, man.
I'm sorry, man. Like I was talking to Ricky about this the other day, or I was talking to Chainsaw about this the other day, and I'm like, for only having like 4 core developers and the 7 of us total, I'm like, we have a really solid team here.
Yeah,
like this is not bad.
I'm really proud of the team that we have here, and it's like I'm really excited to see people, follow what we're doing, and then ultimately see in like the next couple months, like what this first slice of Kronoseum is looking like. I really do think we have something stellar here, and especially when I talk to other third parties, like, wow, how many people we got? It's like, yeah, we just got a couple of awesome people. I think what helps out a lot. Ricky says it like this. We have a lot of Swiss Army knives. I think that's what helps out, because you can have a lot of people that just they focus on one very specific thing, whereas Dan Adams, he's multifaceted. You're multifaceted. Same thing for Ricardo, and then John. They've all done like different parts of it all. So it's I think that's what really helps out with the magic that we have here, is that we got a lot of talented people that can do more than just. Ricky was telling me there was people that were just like teeth specialists or something like that, or hair. I'm like, what?
Hair,
teeth and hair. What? I assumed that was just all kind of lumped into one thing, but I never. I guess that's more on like in the ultra AAA side of things.
Some companies go really into the minutia. Like there are some companies where they're just looking for texturers. Like they don't make the models; they just texture them. Somebody makes it, then they have somebody else texture it, and you're like, you're not doing both. Like that's insane. Like. How do you like? I would think that keeping the idea of like what is on the model, because a gray model is kind of hard to tell what's like going on. So like, how do you must have a lot of conversations back and forth between these two disciplines that seem unnecessary.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like they make it more complicated just for the sake of making it complicated. I don't know. It's like even narrative stuff. I always assumed that was like one person guiding the narrative, but sometimes they'll give it to like 10 people that kind of take the story's narrative. I feel like that would be more complicated than maybe like 1, maybe 2 people collaborating on it. So, but I think that's what we have here, is that everyone, they're able to kind of own their corner of what the game's about, and I think that's what helps us out at this stage that we're at. Maybe down there we might need like a few more people as we kind of we want to expand the character and map pipeline. But for the stage that we're at now, it's I'm really incredibly excited to see what we have already.
We'll probably need more people at some point for sure. We'll probably need a dedicated programmer at some point. Yeah. But right now, for where we're at, for prototyping and things like that, I think we're good. And depending on how fast we want to go once we are able to, like, more artists would be good to speed up the process, and more programmers, more designers. I mean, right now we are good for where we're at to make good time on what we're making versus efficiency. Because that's the other problem. If you grow too fast, your efficiency falls.
Yeah.
So right now we're kind of like I don't want to say bare minimum, because if you just go by titles, we probably are the bare minimum, but everybody can do a little bit more than what their title is. So we're actually in a place now where we're probably hitting above our weight class. But yeah, eventually, I mean, once we're past like this first initial stage, yeah, we'll probably need more people. But for now, I think we're at a good point of where we're at.
So what you're saying is you don't want to have all that workload on you like you did on that one of those early games, right?
I mean, I feel like I kind of do already, but I'm used to it now.
You don't want to do it forever.
No, that's okay. I'm very used to it. I'm very used to doing a little bit of everything. In fact, I've gotten to a point where I kind of enjoy it.
Okay.
Because
never a lack of stuff to do, right?
That, for one. I have never had a problem where I'm sitting around doing nothing. But I also kind of like it because one day it'll be modeling, right? And the next day it could be doing performance stuff. And the next day it could be doing, environment work or lighting or something. And it keeps it fresh because you're not doing the same thing day in and day out. So being able to jump around a little bit is actually kind of refreshing, and for me at least.
Yeah, instead of just doing teeth for your whole life, right?
Right. I mean, how good can your teeth get, right?
Yeah, that was, I think, probably the most interesting thing I've learned, that it can get to that small of the minutia of making a game. Yeah, that was an eye opener when I talked to Ricky about that. But I guess because it seems like we're kind of pivoting towards Kronoseum. Were there any other studios, life experiences, games that you want to talk about before we, I guess, talk about our game specifically that we're doing here?
I don't know. Predator VR was an interesting project.
I was so sad that didn't come out to like the Quest or whatever. Because like I looked at just something like Predator VR. I want to play that. I look and it's like, oh, I can't really play it.
Yeah, it's on Steam still, but it's arcade. Yeah. Like arcade bar only or something like that. Yeah, that was the worst part about that game. Was it was done. we were like 2 weeks away from launch. It was ready to go.
Yeah.
We had done so much perf work at the end to try and make it run, because it had to be on PC and PlayStation VR.
Okay.
I had spent weeks working on trying to squeeze every bit of performance I could out of it without ruining the actual visuals. Because you can get as much perf as you want, but it'll look like crap.
Yeah.
There's a sweet spot. So I had spent weeks doing that, and then it got canceled right at the end, and it was like 2 years of my life putting into that.
I think it's one of the biggest realizations that, past couple years when I've been behind the scenes, like there's been so many games that I've learned about that got canceled recently that are never going to see the light of day, never were confirmed. Like, oh, the world needed to see this game, and I don't think people realize that. It's like the games that end up in our hands. It's actually a very small percentage of all the games. I mean, there's a range of the production, right? From the simplest thing as ideation or prototyping, and then just being in the middle of it to close to the finish line. A lot of games just. I wish I understood the Predator VR situation more. It's like, you said what, 2 weeks? You said about that you think that you before.
I know why. I know why it got canceled. there were actually 3 reasons why it got canceled, which didn't come out until long after it was canceled. But there were 3 particular reasons, and one of them was the main one, and then the other 2 were
just like bonus add-ons.
Yeah, well, okay, so I don't know how much I want to.
If you don't get yourself in trouble,
I don't think I will at this point.
It's crazy. Like if you're 2 weeks away from like shipping something, wouldn't you just let it go, let it out there,
Well, the main reason was Fox got acquired by Disney.
Okay.
Like 2 weeks before we were supposed to launch, or like a month before, something like that. Right before we were supposed to launch, Disney bought Fox, and what we were told why they were canceling it was they were worried that our game was going to hurt the franchise, which is, first off, heartbreaking to hear when you've worked so hard. And we had an awesome story. We had a great game. It was really fun. We had
oh man,
we had voice acting by Jake Busey, Gary Busey's son, the guy who was in Starship Troopers.
Oh man,
he did, and in one of the Predator movies, he did voice acting for it. So that was one of the reasons. Another reason was that we didn't find out till about like 4/5 of the way through production was Predator Hunting Ground was in production.
Okay.
Which was a very similar game to ours.
That wasn't for VR though, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
okay.
But it was an asymmetrical multiplayer game where it's like one Predator versus 5 people, which is what we had. I think we had 4 people, but we had a multiplayer like that. We had a full story mode that was like 2 or 3 missions, but they were really, really long missions. You could play it for like 45 minutes just to get through the game.
Oh wow. Okay.
And for VR, especially at that time, that's kind of a huge campaign. We had plans of making a 3rd one, but it never actually happened. And then the movie was coming out soon. It was The Predator was coming out soon. When they said that they were worried we were going to hurt the franchise, that was like the worst Predator movie ever made too. and it came out like shortly after. We're like, really? We had a much more cohesive and better story in our game.
You know, maybe this is my hot take. I feel like Predator should have just began and ended with the movie of Arnold. Like that to me is what Predator's all about, you know? Or it's even like they tried doing the Total Recall spin-off later. Like that's an Arnold movie. There's like a certain magic that comes with Arnold type of movies.
Well, Prey was the Native American Predator movie. That was all right. And allegedly the one that just came out is supposed to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, one just came out too about that. Yeah, so okay, but it is funny. They're like, oh yeah, this game doesn't match it's not gonna fit into the Predator world. It's gonna ruin it. We were more Predator than any Predator movie that came after the first one. Oh man.
We had a jungle level, we had a city level. Or no, it was a jungle level, we had a secret military base level, and we had a New Orleans level. So we had like Predator 1, Predator 2 in it, and then like kind of the Predator in it as well. So we had like aspects that were really interesting and cool. And I know so much about that franchise now because of making that game.
Well, yeah, you never know. Maybe. I guess I mean, they don't just delete all the stuff, right? Maybe one day they'll come back around to like, you know what? We're sorry, we messed up. The world needs to see this game.
I still have access to it on my Steam.
Oh, do you? Okay. Yeah. We're good. The live stream party, right?
I remember once it got canceled that some people at the company were like, maybe it'll get leaked one day.
I think there's gameplay. I mean, unless I found a different one. I've seen some YouTube video stuff on that, and I was like, I was looking all over it.
Yeah, there's a guy who plays through the entire campaign. I don't want to go into details about this, but I did look it up the other day, and I think it may have been leaked already.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so. I didn't download it to see, because I didn't want to mess around with any of that. Because you know that stuff could just be viruses and stuff.
Right,
so I'm not endorsing this. No one out there go and look for it or anything. But I did see something the other day that maybe was a leaked copy of it. But
that's weird. Yeah, I mean, there's so many big IPs that are on VR now. Like I talked about the Batman game. There's an Iron Man game too that you should definitely. I think is that Oculus 2 accessible? I know for sure on the 3 it is. But it was so cool being Iron Man. Then there's all these Star Wars Vader Immortal games. So yeah, it would have been cool playing the Predator thing. That's like, it was news to me when I saw that your history is like, oh, Predator, I gotta look this up, and then I see it on the Steam page, but I couldn't do anything with it.
You watch the trailer that we made for it. There's one scene that's very, very funny because we had a lot of trouble getting the dreads to like work on the Predator.
Okay.
So there's a scene where he's like behind glass and he's like stabbing a guy or something. And if you look, his dreads are all pointing straight back. It's very funny. And it was like 2 days after that we got them working. So like we're like, oh no.
So Predator VR, you think is your favorite game that you worked on? And you said
World of Max.
That's right. So you're saying that Kronoseum might, maybe, potentially compete with that. What makes you? I guess maybe first before that, maybe it was just Ricky that got you inspired to hop along. But when Ricky came to you with the opportunity, I don't know if you'd be shared the materials that I shared with him. What I guess attracted you to becoming part of this project now that we're here?
Like I said, Ricky goes, do you want? And I was like, yes.
Anything with Ricky, you're down.
Right. There's certain people that I have worked with that no matter what they're doing. It doesn't matter if it's a Barbie's dream house or if it's the coolest game on the planet. You know, I'm down the minute.
Ricky looks like somebody who wants to make a Barbie's Dream House VR game or something.
Knowing him, he probably has. He's worked on so much stuff. He may have worked on something like that at some point. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
Look, a paycheck's a paycheck when it comes to those games, you know.
Yeah, I bet
people.
yeah. Barbie's still a pretty big franchise.
Those Barbie games did pretty well, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So don't knock it. I mean, there's an audience.
And then that Barbie movie did pretty well too. So Barbie's doing all right, you know.
Yeah. Look, I'm not knocking it out. If Mattel wants to come to me and so, you know, as soon as Kronoseum's done and Mattel says, "Hey, you want to work for us?" I'll be like, "Sure, Barbie, let's do it.
Let's go." You're a Barbie girl now.
I'll make a dream house. It's fine.
Oh man, it's all right. So Ricky got you on board, and then you finally saw the stuff.
Yes, I did.
So what do you first think when you look at the Kronoseum world, and I guess what attracts you to the game itself besides just Ricky's being around?
Well, I really like sci-fi kind of stuff. I've always been into like Star Wars and Stargate and Star Trek and all the stars.
All the stars.
Battlestar, you know, all of them. So I like sci-fi concepts like time travel and things like that. So seeing like levels that are from two different times colliding, I first off, the multiple times is cool, but the collision aspect of like how does it work when these things get smashed together, you know, I really like that. And like right now we're using a blockout, but I'm kind of excited to do the next level where I don't have a blockout.
Yes,
and
I was going to ask you about that.
Design it myself. That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, like the blockout is good. Like it's very good. Like I see exactly what they're doing. Like if you look at the middle where all the stuff is like floating, if you actually like pay attention to it, it's like in a spiral, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
like you could see where they were going with it, and it was really well thought out. And so, like, I have no problem working on this from the blockout, but when I get to do it for myself, I'm going to have a lot more fun with that.
Did I tell you what I was imagining the next map would be? I mean, of course, we could always, you know, pivot it.
The Japan Western one?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't see many games that kind of explore, especially like that Japan and Wild West concept put together. So I think it's, I guess, part of the hook of not just for the game, but just for the world, you know, just the creative freedom to imagine just two vastly different things, you know, coming together. And it's funny, comparing it to that next map I would love to work on, you know, it's like that seems like an even more extreme, I guess, fusion than the one that we're currently working on. The one that we're currently working on is already so cool. So like, I'm looking forward to the next one and like how we can, you know, put your talents to starting out from complete scratch.
That's gonna be like wood, which is gonna be interesting to see how that splinters when I start breaking things together.
Yeah,
I'm a little worried about the cherry blossom trees because trees are really expensive in VR. They're arguably one of the most expensive things that you can put into a VR game. That's why you don't see a lot of like jungles.
Yeah,
and stuff.
jungles and with tree movements.
Yeah, it's just because of how transparency works. It just redraws the same pixel over and over again as it goes through transparency levels. So if you have like a branch here, a branch here, a branch here, well, it's got to draw the original thing that's behind all that. Then it draws the transparency. Then it draws the transparency again. Then it draws the transparency again. And then it gets to you. So it's like 4 times more expensive with transparency because of the tree. So it's tricky. It's not impossible. When I was at Phosphor, we were working on Predator, I guess. For our jungle level, I had to put a jungle together in VR, which was very difficult. And my art director made me write an article about how transparency for trees and stuff, how to make a jungle in VR.
Wow,
just as like just for like the community and other developers and stuff. He wanted me to do that, which ended up becoming 2 articles, I believe. And it's funny because occasionally now somebody will like show me that and be like, you should look at this for how to do it. I'm like, I wrote that. I made that. Like, I know what that says.
I was there when the text was written.
Right. So it's, you know, it's not impossible. And nowadays it's a little bit easier because you can kind of like, you can cut around so you don't have big areas of transparency because you can get away with more poly count now. So it's not as hard as it was then. And it's getting easier as hardware becomes stronger.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a huge concern. We may have to limit how many trees we put in.
Yeah, or, you know, you can just have just a couple of them, or just like one big one to distance, or something like that.
Yeah,
so
we'll figure something out. There will be some.
As I say, if we're getting to that step, life is good for us. You know.
Right.
Those are good
well,
problems.
It's good to think about it ahead of time so that you're not surprised by anything, though.
Yeah, it's funny when I thought of that map, I was like, oh man, I kind of want to do this one first. But we were already like, this before you came on to the game. But it's like I already got the block out done. It's like, all right, we'll roll with this one. But there's a couple other ideas I have floating around. But I'm glad you're looking forward to that. So the fusion is one of your favorite elements of this game. It's definitely one of mine too. And we're still in the early workings of kind of discussing how this works from a gameplay perspective. But it's not just going to look pretty. It's going to have some impact on the gameplay as well, which I'm excited to explore more about with Chainsaw. But I guess what else kind of attracts you to this? Is it I know I'm probably the coolest person of all time, last I checked of myself, but I don't know if there's maybe something else that kind of got you excited about this project and how it's in your potential top list.
Based off of what I know so far about the gameplay and the characters and the merging of abilities and things like that, which, to be fair, I haven't been in a lot of the design meetings, so there may be changes from what I've heard. But the stuff that I have heard, like, I think it's a really interesting concept. And again, like World of Mechs was an arena-based shooter, which is arguably what this is going to be.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So I thought that World of Mechs, when I was working on it, was probably the most fun game I worked on, like to play. I actually found myself on weekends sometimes like playing the game and interacting with the community that we had built, because we did have a pretty dedicated community for a while. And just the team play and all that was really interesting in that game. In this game, the team play is even more front and center.
Yeah.
Like it's very much about cooperation with your team, and if you don't do that, you're probably going to lose. Like you need to coordinate well, and I think that's an interesting aspect that is lacking on VR at the moment.
Co-op type of stuff. Yeah,
I don't think I know any game that is doing anything remotely like that, because even World of Mechs wasn't like this. Like that was just like work as a team. This is like function as a team.
I really want this game to kind of bring that. I want people to feel like they're part of the Avengers, right? And you always see those like cool Avengers assembled moment where you have everyone kind of combining their superpowers together to get some really cool explosive moment inside these battles. I kind of want to be able to bring a degree of that over here. And it's like, the shooter genre is not particularly new to VR. There was a game called Larcenauts that people at the time called the Overwatch of VR. It was mostly just guns, for the most part. There was one character, was like a punching shark. That was like the one non-shooter things, like, oh, okay, we're getting a little bit more creative, but then they didn't really expand and they stopped production. But yeah, this takes it to a whole other level where I want people to feel like a superhero, and right. You're taking on all these powers, and we're seeing early stuff that Dan's been working on with Barricade throwing his shield, like, oh man, seeing the shield bounce around. Yeah,
I watched that last night about 4 times. I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah, that's like cool. And it's like it's just a shield bouncing, but it's like there's not really anything like that right now. It gets me excited too to see people be able to bring these superhero powers. This is the first 3, and we're trying to get like a matrix going. So it's like we add a new character to kind of fit into this, like as Dan puts it, like kind of like an elemental matrix of some sort. Right. So it's early workings of that, but I think that's going to be cool as you add another character. It's not just another sniper rifle or another shotgun. It's like, all right, it's another chaotic set of powers that's going to add to the insanity to the game. So just having these 3 characters, I imagine it's going to be awesome. But man, add like another 7 on top of that or something. Whew, man.
Yeah. And how they interact with each other. I mean, balance is going to be an issue for sure.
Just let the chaos happen.
See, that's something that I learned at 369, because like at Phosphor we were very rigid about our design. Yeah. But at 369 it was like if something happened in the game and it was fun, it became a feature.
Yeah.
Like we didn't just like go, yeah, that's fun, but that's not what we were going for. We're like, okay, how do we implement that as a feature? Like, and I think there's going to be a lot of that, because it'll be an easy game to pick up, but it'll be a hard game to master, I think.
Yeah, I bring it up like this. It's sort of like Smash Brothers. Everyone can pick up Smash Brothers and play.
Right.
But there's definitely a mastery curve that, that you could really explore and, get a lot better at it. And I think I'm the best Captain Falcon player. I've mastered the knee so well. That's my favorite ability he has is the knee.
I think that's a great analogy, actually, because you want it to be playable. You don't want a player who's just starting or has a bad team or something to feel like there's just no chance, because that's not fun.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out the balance of how do we make it available and accessible to everybody, but also like if a player or his team are really good, how do you reward those players so that they feel like they have they're not wasting their time, or they're so they enjoy their time on the game.
Yeah,
So-
and that's, I mean, I want to make it clear too. I know we're focusing mostly on the environment stuff right now. That's what you've been focusing on, and
Right.
Ricky's been taking head on the character design. But you're gonna be doing more than just the environment, right? Like you did a lot of that block out for the animatic, right? For the trailer.
I did all of that.
Yeah, all that. Yeah. So I want to make it clear to people that we call you a 3D generalist for a reason. You're not just an environment artist. You're doing a lot more beyond that. Even the character side of things, like you're gonna help out with some of the VFX and stuff like that right down the road.
I can do VFX. I can do like retextures as well of characters that Ricky makes if we get to a point where we need more skins or something like that.
Yeah.
And I said before, I don't think there's a single part of the art pipeline that I don't have some experience on to varying degrees. But if something is needed, I can usually figure something out. So I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, I'm kind of everywhere. I've done animation, I've done mocap, I've done VFX, I've done material work, I've done post-processing, lighting, performance, I've done sculpting, rigging. I don't know, there's a lot more, but
I guess more of a question, what haven't you done, right?
yeah, I mean, I've never been particularly good at doing faces, but I've never put a lot of effort into it, so maybe I get good at it.
So you'll like Barricade. He has no face you got to work with, right? It's just a helmet.
That's one that I'm like, I could totally do that one if we needed to. Like, that's no problem. But the other two, I'd be like, Ricky should probably do those.
Yeah.
But weapons and stuff like that, I'd be pretty comfortable making those, and
I'm telling you, the Barricade blaster, it's got to hit hard. I want to feel like you got the ray gun from the mystery box in Call of Duty. I want people to feel like they got that. So
we'll figure something out for that. I think FX are coming up in the next like 2 or 3 milestones on my list. I have to look. So I'm on environment for a while. We got to get that squared away first before we move forward, because environments can be a pretty big bottleneck for performance.
Yeah.
So the sooner that that's together, and then we can be like, all right, that it's okay at least. We can adjust it later, but it can't run at like 3 frames a second. And then be like, all right, let's move on to something else. No, wait.
I mean,
wait, go back.
At least the early tech stuff we're seeing, it's already in a pretty decent spot before you really kind of nailing the optimization.
Yeah, I have a bunch of optimization stuff that I haven't had time to do yet. There's a couple things that probably are impacting the level, but it's hard to say until you've actually like tested it with and without things. So I have a couple theories of things that would improve performance considerably, but they take a lot of time, and I just haven't. Again, I'm just trying to throw everything into the level at the moment and get that going, and just get it to playable at the moment, so that we can see where we're at. Because if we put this thing together and it's 60 FPS or 90 FPS, that gives us some wiggle room, so we can do a little bit cooler stuff, bigger explosions and stuff like that. So we need to get an idea of where we're at before
we start adding all that stuff on top. Yeah.
Yep.
So
It'll
would you
give us
say
a playbook.
So would you say, I'm guessing that's probably the most, I guess the biggest challenge is getting the map kind of in a good spot so we can focus on the other stuff. What would you say is the biggest challenge, I guess, for Kronoseum, if not maybe the environment?
It's the same as every game. It's going to be performance and how well, or how the player feels, I think, for. I mean, obviously gameplay is very important as well. I mean, the whole thing is important.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to look good, it has to sound good, it has to play fun.
Yeah.
You can't half-ass anything, really. And players are pretty brutal about how they feel about games. They don't hold back. So you want it to be as good as possible from the get-go,
Yeah, especially nowadays where every second I feel like a new game's coming out, right? There's so many options out there too, so you got to really make sure you hammer in all those details.
Yep. So we'll see. I mean, right now my prime concern is environment and getting that done. I've got probably 2 or 3 more weeks worth of work on that probably before it's either finished or very close to finished. And then we'll start working on some of the other stuff and figuring out what Dan's going to need, like art-wise, to keep his stuff going, because like he needed Barricade's gun and shield before you could really start doing it. So what else does he need? What do we have to make the portal for Valeria or whatever? Like what does that look like, and start getting that figured out for him. So we're going to be at a point soon where there's going to be a lot more collaboration, I think, between us.
Everyone's kind of in their corners right now.
Yeah, we're all kind of heads down. We kind of know what we're working on, and
Yeah, I think once that map is done and Ricky's done because he's halfway done up the next character. So like I think once that's done. I don't know if you've seen his progress on Hoshiru so far. It looks so cool. He added a couple tweaks.
No, he hasn't shown me yet. I'll have to ask him after this.
Yeah, I'll send it to you if anything. And this was like a couple days ago, so a lot has changed. But I feel like once he's done with those core 3 characters and you're done with the map, it's probably going to line up pretty well where then that's when we're going to get really deep into weeds of collaboration, which I'm excited. We're setting up the pieces, right? We're setting up the chessboard and then the game, and then we get to have a lot of fun, really kind of hammering in the fun part of it all.
Yeah, Ricky's probably going to have to do a lot of specific animations and stuff for Dan, and he's probably going to be focusing on that a lot, and I'm probably going to be working on effects and weapons and stuff like that for him. So we're almost to the point where we're going to be having daily meetings. But for now, right now, everybody sort of knows what they're doing. We're kind of heads down doing what needs to be done, and we're still sharing stuff, so it's not we're completely we're not in the dark, like left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, but we're working on our stuff, and it's coming along. I think it's
only been
good.
It's been about a little over a month, right, of stuff that since you and Ricky kind of came on board.
I think we're short. We're not 2 months yet.
Yeah,
but we're probably about a month and a half.
Yeah, something like that. It's like I feel like we've gotten so much done, and I don't think people are ready for what it's gonna look like. I'm excited. Like I'm trying to imagine what does February of 2026 look like. If we're already at this point, I can't wait. I want to fast forward just a little bit so I can see what it's going to look like. But,
we're making good time for sure.
Yeah.
The work is progressing about as fast as I think you could with the size of the team. And again, you get too big of a team and it starts slowing down from the other end.
Yeah. You sort of get diminishing returns on it's too many cooks in the kitchen, right?
Yep. So we're in a good spot, I think. And I think we're going to continue in this for a while. We'll see where it goes. I mean, I'm excited about it. I can't wait to actually start playing it because I just want to throw a shield at Ricky's head.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
Actually, I guess I'll ask you this because Ricky told me what his favorite character is, and I feel like I'm starting to see it in his work that he's doing right now. What's out of the 3 characters we have so far? Which one's your favorite?
His is her hero, isn't it?
Oh yeah, he likes he likes the Hoshiru. Yeah, so he's been putting.
Sorry.
No, yeah, he's been putting. I feel like he put 140% effort in Barricade. I feel like he's putting 145% effort into Hoshiru now. Like he said, he put a lot of time in the hair. I'm like, yeah, I can tell you put a lot of time into that.
That character's way up his alley, I think.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't want to walk around being a samurai, right?
Right. I mean, I think Barricade is probably my favorite, but I think is probably because my play style would be more of that.
It also kind of feels like it fits your sci-fi preference a lot too.
Right. Valeria's cool. I'm not normally into the high fantasy kind of stuff, but I do like her abilities from the stuff that I know.
Oh yeah, I gotta share with you. This was just last week. We kind of got the rough template for what we want the character abilities to do, and Valeria's got some really cool portal-like mechanics, and we're taking a lot of inspiration from Skyrim.
I saw the video.
You saw that. Okay.
Yeah.
So each hand's gonna have a different spell equipped onto it. So I'm the same way. There's a lot of cool stuff there, and I think especially with her portal, being able to connect people and abilities, I think she's gonna definitely be an important bridge to the two vastly different things. And that's why I picked those 3 characters there first. If we only have one impression, I want to kind of show as wide of a spectrum that we have for the abilities. So you have your melee combat, you got your range blaster, and then you have some magic in between. So I think it really, if we only have one shot to really wow people, I think these 3 characters really come together very well. So we have one for Barricade, one for Hoshiru, and then we got to see. I got to bring on Chainsaw one day and see which one he likes the most. Maybe he'll go for Valeria.
Actually, probably will if I had to get.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I don't know. I know how he is for Warhammer 40K and stuff, so maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, we'll have to ask.
We'll see.
We'll have to get a tally. I think Dan's Team Barricade too, because I asked what shirt did he want. He's like, I want a Barricade shirt. So
awesome. I knew I liked Dan.
Yeah. He's I'm really excited. We got to bring him on too for a conversation, talk about the tech side of things. But I guess on that note, I suck with talking because I always tell people once I start talking, maybe this is the bad trait of having a law background and YouTube, you just don't know when to shut up. So I don't want to take up much more of your time. No, it's been great. Actually, I forgot, before we, wrap up with final thoughts, did you want to talk about your modeling stuff if people still are here at this point. I think we left a little teaser earlier on, but you got a lot of talents behind the scenes besides making games.
Yeah, it's still very early in the process. I'm not really. I haven't even had my first video done yet. I'm still. Every time I think I'm ready to film my first video, I keep finding I need another piece of equipment.
Yeah, that's at some point you just like, let's record the video, and then the first video doesn't need to be perfect. It's every day. It's just making the next video 0.01% better than the last one, and that's just how it goes. So it's like my first video is just me on my laptop. It's like, I'm just gonna record it, and then you add a camera, and then that's how I learned the new editing tricks. So you know what? Just post it and just be like, just imagine I have this tool or something. I don't know.
I need to wait a little bit longer because my lighting doesn't work yet.
Okay.
So I think the part that is supposed to be here is Friday, and I think I'm finally ready to start.
All right.
We'll see. Maybe this weekend. But yeah, it's basically a YouTube channel where it's building model kits of like cars, Gundams, planes, Warhammer 40K, BattleTech, all kinds of stuff. And then looking at occasionally reviews on like new tools and stuff like that. So like the first video is going to be for reviewing a new type of airbrush that just came out.
Ooh, so, okay.
We'll see. I haven't even tried it yet. We'll see if it's any good.
First, you gotta get your first reaction to it.
Yep, exactly.
So do you have a channel name for it, or do you want to wait till later?
Well, I could talk forever, so we could probably do another one of these someday.
that actually would be great. I think maybe when we finish the map or something like that, we can maybe kind of pick up from there. Yeah, this doesn't need to be just a one and done type of conversation.
Yeah, I think it's fun, and if people are interested, that's awesome. Like I'm happy to talk about the only subject I know more than anybody else about, which is me.
You and me both. Well, then I guess on that note, do you have any last words or optimistic things you want to share before we, I guess, say just how's the saying go? It's not goodbye, it's until next time. I don't know, whatever the saying is.
I was just saying that I think this game is going to be really good. I think it's going to be very fun. I think it's going to look good. It's going to be out sooner than I think people are expecting it. Probably slower than they'd like it.
Yeah. I think I was so worried about bringing people in this early because, again, people kind of just want to see the final product. But I've been, I guess I should say, very surprised seeing that people love being around this early, seeing how it's getting made, and just seeing all these steps that we're taking. So yeah, it's
I've shown your videos to a couple people who are not game developers and a couple that are game developers, and they're all very impressed with the idea of actually showing how things work, because it is an interesting profession, and there's a lot of things that you don't know unless you do it, know? And just informing people this is how we work on it. Even the process of making a 3D model is extensive. It'd be, if that's the kind of thing that maybe someday we should show how something like that works. Just a quick 5-minute video going over a time lapse or something.
I would love that. I would love that. So if that's something maybe you want to explore, how you make a model, I would totally be down for something like that, because I'm definitely not on the tech side of things. So that's I know a little bit to get around, but I think it'd be fun if we get maybe some episodes maybe deeper into the weeds on making an environment. We talk.
It will be for a little while, though, I'm afraid.
Of course.
But I'd be happy to do something like that.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I think I cut you off there. So you think the game's gonna be good?
I think it is. I think that's all we need to say.
We might be a little bit
biased,
biased, but I think people who are starting to see, especially at first time, me getting into the world, oh, this looks really cool already, and we're not even as you said, you're only 50% done with the map. That we only have barely the first character model done, and I think we're really gonna be pushing this genre for this platform too. I think probably the furthest you could probably push it at the time that VR is here with us. So I'm excited to see what we can do together.
Well, like I said, I think this has the potential to be my favorite game I've worked on, and that's not me saying it just because I'm on it.
So the next game you work on, I'm gonna listen to. It's wait, he said Kronoseum was the best game. Now it's this next one.
Well, the next one could be better, but
I get you. I'm just pulling.
We'll see. But yeah, no, I legitimately mean that when I say it. I think this is gonna be a lot of fun to play once it's going.
Yeah, I agree. Well, people, I guess we'll have to do a part 2 at some point. If there's something you want to maybe learn more about on the world of 3D modeling, being a character artist or environment artist inside of VR, or just in general, let us know. That we can maybe see if that sparks Parker's interest to kind of go more into the minutia of all of it. But until then, thank you again so much for taking the 2 hours of your day. You could have been working on Ash and CrossFit and chatting with me here. I look, it's like, oh, it's only been 30, 40 minutes. Like, oh my gosh, it's been 2 hours already. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day and, your production timeline that you've been working on and spending it with us. And again, more importantly, lending your talents over here. And I'm so happy that Ricky introduced me to you. And with your experience, I really think it's the best we can find for something that we're doing right now. You have as close to one-to-one. You've worked on all these different VR games. You've worked on a genre that's pretty similar, or a game that's pretty similar to this genre. And already it's the world's come to life, and the magic that you're showing people, it's getting us excited already. So looking forward to the next steps, my friend.
All right, cool. Yeah, me too, man.
All right, well, my friends, that's going to be it for today. Let us know what you want to do for next time. And as always, as we like to say here at 25A Games, it's great to be in the Kronoseum today. I don't know, that's just kind of the tagline I'm working with right now. All right, see you guys later.